Good morning everybody and welcome to episode 1 of building the ultimate LEGO ZELDA playset. This is going to be a 3 to 4 part mini series where I show you this, which is actually just me building my lookout landing model in real life and, well, creating something that I think is pretty cool. But let's go back in time to 6 months ago before I got in this mess, and then I can show you all of what's going on here. So this process actually started all the way back in June of 2025, which is actually when I announced that I was doing this. However, let's be real, I was mostly focused on getting the sanctum all ready and sorted up until a little bit later. So it is now September, and this is sort of me audio recording as I open Studio for the first time and sort of get our plans together. So for those of you who don't know, Lookout Landing and the Caves Underneath, otherwise known as Secret Cave Discovery, are two models that are designed to be LEGO ZELDA playsets based off my Tears of the Kingdom custom wave. And the whole gimmick around them is that they recreate that kind of idea where you have the Jabba's Palace and Rancor set where they sit on top of each other. For today, obviously, you're going to be watching this. It's going to be the lookout part, but Secret Cave Discovery is not going to be far behind because they're going to go together. And that is right. The goal is to get them to be able to sit on top of each other. And I trust my building. Over the years, I've learned that generally speaking, I know what I'm doing. Roughly, I mean, stuff still turns out ugly, but strength-wise, I tend to understand the LEGO system quite well. However, I've got to admit, I'm a little bit concerned. So I'm going to open up Studio again, and we are going to make sure that this thing is ready to sit on top of, well, an entire other model. And more importantly, it's got to be convention ready too. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that I've got to be able to pick this thing up and down maybe 100 times in a day. I need it to be strong and just easy to grab. So I think the first thing that needs to be done is the layer of structural integrity needs to go on. Secondly, I also want to deal with this tower. I really want Link to be able to launch out the top because this model is packed full of play features, whether it be sort of connections such as an ascend through the floor, being able to drop down through the secret bunker and the well, as well as, of course, all kinds of interactable elements. We've got the house at the back and so on, where there's going to be a jail on the downstairs. We've got all the research areas, Pura's bedroom and the telescope. But most importantly, I want to be able to launch minifigures outside of the lookout landing tower. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to accomplish that yet. Something tells me we're going to have to use some magic. So we're going to go into Studio and work that out as well. And then also the third thing I need to do is I need to fix all of the incorrect colored parts, because I did recolor a couple of parts for this model. I'm also going to spend some time looking at some minifigures, but that is the plan. You are going to watch me, hopefully, build Lookout Landing in real life and create what admittedly I'm calling the ultimate Zelda playset, because I guess that's true. And I'm going to be ordering these parts in January, so I'm going to get to it, and you guys will see in a couple of months how well things go. And as predicted, I'm already slacking on the footage here, but here are the two big bag of parts that have come in. We're still waiting on a bricks and pieces order, but yeah, two big packets of parts on the way, and I've been hard at work making some modifications, which I'm going to show you in just a sec. After quite literally a month, last parts are here, finally. So I can add those to the two big bags, and got to sort through this obviously, and then we can get building. And this is pretty much all lookout with a couple of extra projects and some Krakens in there, but not wasting any time. Let's go. And part of that process was, of course, checking off all of the parts to make sure that I ordered the right ones. And I did find a couple of mistakes as well. So I've had to place an emergency bricklink order. But I want to take this time just to talk about the modifications that we made in Studio. As I alluded to, I added an entire layer of plates at the bottom of the model. This is extra for strength. This isn't strictly necessary, but it is going to be really great for convention displays. So I'm really going to value that as well. There were also a couple of parts that had to get switched out, either just because they weren't very available or just because of how I was doing things. Weird stuff like this Rawn Technic bushing, which apparently I decided was in bright green. It's not on display. It's hidden in the Technic in the base. It doesn't need to be this color. I swapped out for a white one in my own collection, saving me some money. And actually I did gather quite a few parts from my own collection, which saved me probably about £30, so about $40 off the total cost of this model, which was amazing because obviously it's a really expensive project to do. Honestly, most of the work I did was colour swapping and just making things easier to purchase. Stuff, again, like the tower, I really had to change quite a lot. But most of it was minor stuff, similar shape changes, just getting rid of the rare parts, which helped to sort of mean you have to go to less bricklink sellers. I do have a solution in mind for the tower, but I'm actually going to play coy on that one on how we're going to launch Link out the top. As one, I'm not 100% happy with it. I would, if it's strong enough, like to try something else in the future, and maybe we'll see that in a future part. But also, we're not going to be building the tower today, so I'm going to leave that one out of this. And yeah, I think let me just show you the box of parts and then let's start building because I want to show you this stuff in real life. So everything's sorted, everything in the bucket, big box of parts. That is more than the castle, that's for sure. Although not by too much, it's a bit of a parallel. Got some figs over here, Krakens and stuff, really happy with those, but let's get started. So I'd actually thought that the first check-in was going to be sort of after this Technic frame around the edge was all done because I wanted to sort of show how things were going on with that. However, this literally was a great opportunity to just sort of show you what sort of my thesis is here. So I really clearly mentioned this extra layer of plate. So you can see I'm manhandling this a lot, but it is very much flexing, especially when you hold it in the middle. If, of course, I had two hands on the camera, see I'm breaking it now, and had one here and one here, I think it would be a lot stronger. But even in the original design, I knew that with the weight of the buildings, and this is still a potential concern, don't forget there'll be lots of pathways and stuff and so going around. And of course, if you're not familiar with Lookout Landing, we're going to have the fountain here in the center, which hopefully we'll be building today. So on one hand, I think that fountain is going to be great for helping the stability of the model, because it will put a nice big footprint here where it's currently at its weakest. Two, you'll never actually be grabbing it from the middle, but then we have to consider the other side, which is the extra weight here, when all of the weight is mostly distributed around the outside, is actually going to put more pressure on here so that it might still sag. And remember, my goal is to be able to pick it up from here and here. Now, this isn't actually the full footprint because we've got the two front wall segments, but because those are going to be attached on, where's one that I can show you? Just over here. I'll be showing this properly later. There's a clip on there. They're going to be attached. One, of course, I'm worried about them sagging. I think that may be a problem. I may have to look at some sort of latch on here. I may have already designed that. Honestly, I don't remember. I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't look at that part of the file too closely. But I'm going to build those last, so those will be in the next part for sure. But the reason I want to show you now was obviously to highlight the importance of why adding that plate there was so crucial for what it is, to sort of show you the size of this thing. If you're looking for context, I mean, that's a 16 by 16 plate, so we got one modular right here, from there to there, plus a little bit extra on the side, and then probably about it's probably about two modulars across, so about 64-ish studs. It is longer here in some ways in the castle that we did last year, but yeah, this is what I'm showing you. I'm going to show you when the, as I said, the Technic rim is complete and we've got the base on, but I wanted to show you this part here. Now, so underneath this ridge, obviously it's ridged up because we've got a wall and we wanted sort of the mounted defences, but also for structural support, but there is just a Technic frame running all the way through here, and this is going to only run in a semicircle around this section. It doesn't go onto the front walls. It's something that's exclusive to the back here. And I just really like this angled section here, so you can see that it's on Technic rods. I haven't actually done the rest of the frame, so it's a little bit loose right now, but you can sort of get the vibe of how things are coming together. And also, just to prove a point, if I hold it from this side, obviously it's going to flex down the middle, but like this is a much more comfortable stretch. It's only because obviously nothing on the other side, and this will never be lifted one-handed, so trust me, and when you see it again in a second, hopefully it will be even stronger. And yeah, I'll explain all these details in the next clip. I mean, one last thing before we move on is I wanted to show you guys this here. These are stickers, but I've also just remembered that I wanted to point out that the underlayer that we've done has all been color matched in dark bluish grey. Here is one of the mistakes I made, where I thought this was a 1x12 gap here, hence why I ordered this 1x12 plate, but it's a 1x11 gap. Something went wrong with the thing where this was actually raised up here, so I'm gonna have to order some more parts for that. But I wanted to point out that all of the major holes are actually color matched, so grey here, but I'm using random parts everywhere else. It just so happened the cheapest one I could get here for grey, but yeah, dark bluish grey around this hole. Mind that one gap again. I'm missing a 1x6 for some reason. Again, these parts I'm ordering or fixing, we will fix. But yeah, the trim's important. Anyway, getting distracted, I wanted to talk about these. So these are the sticker sheets. So this is the January 2026 sticker sheet that I've designed. These are all my images and so on. You'll notice, of course, a couple of different things on here, such as the charged set link torsos. We're going to be doing a video on him and his friends at some point soon. But of course, there are stickers in here for Lookout Landing and Secret Cave Discovery. Ignore Mineru, those are just replacements for me. So, of course, we've got the big Triforce symbol for the big sort of deck that's going to be out here. 4 big banners. These are actually going to be trimmed between a 2x2 tile and a pentagonal tile, hence why they look a little distorted and thin. We've got a new recipe tile for Secret Cave Discovery. That's just a replacement. This is, of course, for the central fountain area. We've got lots of this wanted poster. I'm going to be placing these all over the place. Zonai surveys are for Secret Cave. We've got the Poe, the Bargainer statue here. We've got the mural that leads you to the central Harrow mine from the depths, so that's going in the research area, along with Robbie's drawing of the Puropad. We've got some Zonai text here, which is actually really hard to see in this atrocious lighting, but it has a golden pattern on it, and it's in sand green. We've got a map for Secret Cave, and then some various different posters. Most of these are for like the Pura House thing, where it's one for each of the regional phenomena, which is something we actually see in game. and then 2 here for Secret Cave Discovery with the drawing of my frogs and how to fuse weapons. So there is this, and now for real, we're going to build some more. Well, things are definitely much stabler, stronger and better now. So as promised, here we are now that the Technic frame is finished, and you can see that obviously bar the sort of hexagon that's going to come out here at the front, all of this is put together. We've got a nice strong foundation, still no paving works, but that ridge, Technic protected ridge, has gone all the way around the outside now. You can see has the angle on this side, would have the angle here too, but obviously there's the building here as we expect to see. So all of that comes together nicely. Obviously there's some very big differences between the two sides. We will come and talk about that in a second. And of course the 2 holes in the middle, which are all for that interactivity with the cave system that we're going to be putting underneath in probably the 3rd part of this. Now, as I mentioned in the previous ones, lots of stuff has happened. In particular, of course, all of this is brand new and is all reinforced and was actually a little bit difficult to put on. Let me turn it upside down so you get a little bit of an idea of what's going on there. You can see some of the beams running through, and now this section is sort of connected in properly. Now you can see it still has a little bit of wiggle to it, but it is indeed connected. Now that is going to be a problem, and not something I would have really predicted for, is that obviously has no support. So while it is secure, this thing's going to be holding a lot of weight. Again, not a problem when it's down on a table, but remember, I've got to be able to lift this up, and you can see it's not sagging too much there, but all of the tower sits on here, and I've just discovered that there are no additional reinforcements across here. So I'm thinking that that is probably going to have to be a modification we make come part 2, part 3 of this series. We'll see how things go. Hopefully the support of the walls on either side will help. And again, flat down, it's going to be no problem at all. It's just whenever we have to lift it up and it starts doing funny things. So we'll see. Over here, I don't know if I should really spoil this, we have a trapdoor. Notice how with that latch, it's not going to go inwards. And that is of course because this is for an ascend feature in particular. So Link will be able to come up from below and pop up as if he's popped through the floor, which is really cool. A little rat over here, although again this is hiding actually another mistake, and that is the fact that this piece was floating. Well, it wasn't floating because I did attach it to the rat. It's just there is no studs underneath, which is fine for me, but I'm going to have to change that for the final instructions. Oh, I should also tell you about the mistake I made, and that was regarding these guys here, which only about 8 or 9 steps into the build, I was missing 2 green parts. Of course, very foundational things that I didn't want to have to wait for. So you can see these 3 strips here. These are from London Ranch, my custom build, and then this, and then there's another bit over there that was a 6x6, and apparently both of those were missing. I've ordered those, so I'm trying not to go too far before I'm going to have to rip into those. That being said, nothing can stop me. We are going to build the walls today, probably before those replacements come in. I'm just hoping they're here by Saturday when I want to finish the main structure and so on. However, I'll just rip in from the underneath or something. But either way, that was hilarious. I know, don't, just kidding. It wasn't fun at all. Got this lovely ridging underneath the work area, and of course, this is where most of the science and control in local landing happens as well. So that's really cool. This is going to be the house, so down here the jail cell, and then obviously upstairs because we're going to have the whole 2nd floor, and then this is just the 2nd wall, and all of this is one big Technic piece that actually was a little bit hard to put in, but it was great. And of course the ramp over here as well. Okay, and then around the back, of course, we've got a little bit of water because this comes over a bridge here. I noticed that a couple other parts were missing as well, such as door frames and so on. I don't know how this happens. I feel like we talk about this every video. I promise I do plan it really well. It's just something that always seems to go wrong. I don't know if it's on a Bricklink end or if it's on the studio end. Either way, the parts I know are missing are coming, although I'm sure there are more. So we will deal with those as they show up. Although if any more show up, I probably will wait to fix it until we have Secret Cave built. And obviously I know if this is going to be stable enough so that I can come up with some solutions to fix it. Anyway, it doesn't really look any different. So actually, let's get some details in here. Let's get some walls up, and I'll check back in with you in a minute. And actually, before we do that, I want to show you guys what we've got planned for minifigures. Okay, so let's talk minifigures. It was really important to me to get some guys in Highland style, and of course the ones that are going to come to mind first are of course going to be our named characters. So it's kind of going to surprise you guys when I do this and drop some of these guys in here. So a lot of the ethos that we spent a long time looking through Bricklink, looking for stuff that sort of matches the Highland styles and so on. So you're going to notice a lot of sort of overalls, aprons, scarves, that kind of thing. A lot of these people have sort of semi-modern clothing, but also stuff like if I bring this generic guy in here, this like sort of woolen overcoat over sort of a traditional medieval garb. Something maybe, I guess, a bit like this jerkin print, which I have over here as well. Now, of course, he's not finished yet, so let's talk about the ones that are. So we've got this lady here who is clearly on sort of cleanup duty, so she's just going to be sweeping things around the site. Maybe she'll end up in the secret cave. We've got this man who has no sort of accessories, he's just a generic wall, so he's just going to sit there probably at one of the tables eating food. We're going to add these guys into the model next week. We then also have this lady here who's going to be an adventurer. I'm going to get her a backpack. She's going to have a map and she's got a quill here, so she's come in as a traveller. And you can see some of the torsos and legs we're using, of course, have all been fig bathed together. So this is the 2012 Frodo torso. However, we've added some tan arms, add a mix up. I did have a breakage on the brown arms there, so you can see that it's again layered waistcoat and so on. This is the Leonardo da Vinci torso, but I've taken the arms off again and put brown ones on, and we just mixed up our skin tones and so on. This here was actually from I want to say Build a Minifigure Witch, that torso there, when we've just added it to various different bits because it looks vaguely sort of pseudo-medieval. And then there was this guy I showed you here earlier, which is very much a fig bath. This is actually the back of the pirate torso from, I want to say, series 25? No, that's too late. 2 is 27, I think, potentially. However, it's with lavender arms, and the torso actually is the last part from that pirate figure to get used in here, because I actually bought it for the skirt for Ganondorf, and in pretty much every project since I've used a different part of it. So here is the torso, and this doesn't the least Hyrule one. That feels more like a merchant who, again, probably traveling in with the satchel bag. We also have this guy here who is one of our first sort of soldier baths. He is an older soldier here, so you can see he's got the armor piece on from the Dragon Paladin, because I had a second one of those. However, it doesn't actually represent anyone in specific. This is about as close as you can get to Hylian armor, with some exceptions, and that, of course, being some of our named characters. Here, who has another part of the Dragon Paladin. Notice how I've split it across 3 figures, because one, of course, the Hyrule Remnant Army and the Monster Control crews are quite worn down by the time it is the Kingdom, but also makes these parts go further. So this is going to be Scorpus. I'm probably going to flip the torso, I think. Yeah, in fact, I definitely will flip the torso. I even have his bun hair here, but I'm just missing a head. It is on its way. It's coming in order. It's one of the parts I was able to get. I wasn't able to get all of the parts I want, so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But we'll see Scorpus in the next part when I have his head. And then we also have this farmer. I feel like farmers are something we see around Hatena all the time, so maybe working in the fields outside Lookout Landing, and he's going to be stood around with his rake and, of course, his backpack, and I'm actually going to give him the straw hat from the new One Piece line as well, which I also have on the way, so you'll see him finished next week. And unfortunately, most of these will not be finished in the coming weeks, maybe by part 3, but here we have Kosi, who is someone from the actual secret cave. Again, there's the third dragon Paladin parts. He's always seen with a sort of a screwdriver, like fixing up a helmet, so I've got him and his hair here. And then I've got various different parts for the tower. Again, unfortunately, all of the name characters, I've stuck the magnifying glass in his head so I remember who it's for. All of the name characters, or the important ones, are the ones that I couldn't get the parts for, probably because they're using slightly rarer parts. I've got this hairpiece here ready for the shopkeeper from Lookout, which is Mubs. These legs for a Zono survey team member. Hopefully I'm flashing on my fig plans on the screen. And then just an arm over here, which will be Pura whenever we get around to her. However, once again, she is proving a bit difficult to get hold of. So various legs and various figures. I think there's a couple more of them will have parts that are here by part 2. Maybe I'll get restless and buy more parts for part 3. But for now, we've got a decent selection. And actually, we're going to buffer this. And remember, as I said, everyone that I've shown you so far is sort of canon-based, at least to an extent. However, I have also made sure I have a couple of fantasy minifigures with me, just to sort of fill in the gaps while we can. So, of course, we have the Arakura warrior from D&D. We've got a fig bath here of the chef from Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as the 2 elves from Barrel Escape, who are using again mixed parts from the set. So all of these two figs parts come from that Barrel Escape Hobbit set. However, I've mixed them together to try and make them look less like important people. However, I did deliberately choose non-named characters for all of this stuff, because I knew that I didn't want them to be super recognizable and go, oh, why is Bilbo in here, and so on. So unfortunately that eliminated a lot of figures. So we've got the chef there. We've got a fig path here from the Hogsmeade set, which again had useful, highly unlike parts, although none of these are ones I'm happy with, although she's probably one of the closest ones because I think that torso is pretty right. Here's the most egregious one, which is Flynn Rider from Tangled. This is just the Flynn Rider figure from the Disney Castle that I bought for those legs back for my Skyward Sword link. It's another sort of generic-y Harry Potter one as well. Again, lots of random hairstyles. Again, these feel very high and they're going to fit for now, but their goal is that all of these will be replaced We've got a Woohoo Han Solo combo as well. And then I have also acquired this guy. He was going to be our Horrible stand-in, and unfortunately he won't be changing. This is the closest we can get to having a cave monster that kids aren't going to go and like, oh, what's that? When we're at shows, we're just going to have to use Cyclopses, even though they look absolutely nothing like what they're supposed to. So yeah, compromise is there. So yeah, we've got a nice mix of figures, enough to populate both this and the cave. You're going to see a couple more in the coming weeks, the Farmer, Scorpus, and so on. And we may talk more about the Pura and so on designs, because hopefully I flashed the bath plans on top of the screen for you. However, we're going to be filling it out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go back to building now, because I've enjoyed putting these figures together. However, I think the build is probably more exciting. Okay, gang, so it's continuing on. Obviously, I've been focused largely on the front section here. We're not quite done, obviously, and you'll notice there is this sort of gap down here where the other sections are going to slide underneath. But I've been sort of dealing with this function here, and you can see, obviously, this is the hole into the bunker. I regret demonstrating this because it doesn't work yet, but we've got our little bit here, which has the 3 symbols on it. There we go, power, wisdom and courage. But what I want is, I would like, obviously, for this to pull out, for this to drop all the way. Now, unfortunately, for something I've done wrong, is these green plates are getting in the way. However, I think I have a solution to this. Let's see if this actually comes out this time. Nope, of course it's going to get stuck. I really don't want to damage this sticker. It's only been on there for like a day. Oh, well, that's not coming out. Anyway, I'm going to do some surgery because there is actually a weird 1-plate buffer here. So I'm sure that will do absolutely no harm if I move all of that over by 1. This is going to take a while. I'm going to do that. Let me just swing you over here to my sticker part drawer. I did all these yesterday. So all of the stickers for Lookout are now ready to go. Oh yeah, there's one hidden under there as well. And one back there. So yeah, we're making progress, but I'm now going to tear everything apart and try and fix that.
I cannot believe I actually got it to stand on the end while doing it. You can see the big hole. I'm going to slide all this over by 1 and then put everything back, but big pile of mess.
Okay, so that was easier than expected. Let's just try it. And you can see there's a hole straight through this time. So let's slide this in here. I might consider putting a lip on the inside edge to stop it sagging. I kind of didn't expect the weight to be a problem. So I've probably put the friction on too tight now. So let's make sure that's in. Yeah, that definitely needs a latch or something. And then, oh well, this is great, isn't it? So I knew there was a chance this happened because of, yeah, this here. But I was hopeful that it would just sort of slide down like an angle. And that may well be the case, but I think I'm going to have to remove that as well. Okay, all fixed now. That was more destructive than I thought. And I've got a mechanism that limits some of the sagging. I could probably get it flatter, but this is fine for now with the parts I've got on hand. I will improve it. Anyway, oh, come on, it worked like 3 times in post. Anyway, with a little rubbish. And we'll try again. See, what did I tell you? Right, let's go for 2 in a row. Okay, right, so clearly it's unreliable. Without the latch thing, this thing here that causes the problem, it goes a lot smoother. So what I might try is changing this out for a brick so that there's less wedges for it to get caught on. It may still fail occasionally, but hopefully nothing you can't push through. Okay, and that is where I'm leaving things for today. A little bit more progress. Unfortunately, due to the trouble over here, I've run out of time because I'd originally wanted to get this built up as well. But I have done a lot of the fun details, and you're not going to have wait too long to wait to see that. So apologies for that. However, this is still a very exciting first step, and also adding this to the middle has indeed made this model much stronger. I mean, there's just no like sag anymore. I mean, I shouldn't, but I can hold it by 1 hand, so I'm feeling much more confident about this. I'm feeling a little less worried about this, but still quite worried actually. And I actually have this working now with the new system, so if I pull this out, obviously it's going to drop onto the carpet. It's not going to fall away massively, but remember, I'm going to have the cave in here in a couple of weeks, and you can see what I've added here is this tile, which should oh yeah, I had it a bit too high, just fall straight into there here. So now it has like a lock in place, and it was a bit faffy, and I had to remove some more pieces to do that. I've knocked this off as well. However, that does give us a complete sacred grounds, of course, important site in Breath of the Wild, and then the centre of the village in Tears of the Kingdom. We added a couple of details. These were on here earlier, but I thought I'd actually show them now with the flowers and the lanterns. There's another one over here. We've got the various different pillars, which have all been broken down, and then we've got a barrel here. Of course, there's going to be the walls all the way around. Our rat, our big area. We've got the well here, so you'll be able to fall down here into the cave, which actually just reminds me, I didn't think about Farah when we were talking about figures earlier, so I may have to look into parts for her as well. And then we've got these table setups where we'll be able to put some minifigures and so on as well. And then the ramp is still the same over here. And you notice I've started putting the wall up here, which has these wooden braces against it. We've got a small cooking setup, so I guess this is where they feed the troops. It'd be nice to get some figures in here. But yeah, that is the progress so far. You can see obviously it is not finished. Again, we've still got to come out, probably about there, come along, come forward, of course, do the actual build, and then the tower that, I'd say about here-ish maybe. It's quite tall, but we'll see. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this sort of beginning of this journey. We'll be back with this in a couple of weeks, but obviously I have a lot of building to do in between now and then. In the next part, if everything goes to smooth, we will actually finish this, and then the third episode, or part, or whatever you want to call this, will actually be the cave underneath. However, if stuff goes wrong with that tower, you may just get an extra video. Who knows yet? Honestly, I don't know. But yeah, this is everything I've got to show you. I wanted to do something cinematic to sort of sign it off, but quite frankly, I don't have any ideas. So I'm going to just come up like down, and then come into our wonderful Triforce, and I'm going to say goodbye.